What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we are going to be talking about Week 8 reactions, who were the studs, who were the duds, and everything we need to know about last week for fantasy football. So without wasting any more time, let's hop right into this video. Now, the first position we're going to be talking about is going to be the quarterback position, starting with our quarterback performance of the week, Sam Howell for the Washington Commanders. He finished as the quarterback one here and scored 32 fantasy points. Now, along with Sam Howell, we do have the top 12 performers, which were your quarterback ones for fantasy football here in Week 8, with Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Will Levis rounding out the top 6, followed by Joshua Dobbs, who's now a Minnesota Viking, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, and then Kirk Cousins, who unfortunately did tear the Achilles here in Week 8. So overall, a very good week from the quarterback position. As you can see, we had plenty of guys who were scoring 20 points or more, with Sam Howell being the leader at that 32 points with 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 397 passing yards. But again, like I said, overall, a very good week from the quarterback position. And one thing I think we should be noticing is that 5% roster percentage that we're seeing there on Will Levis. Will Levis being rostered in about 5% of leagues right now. I think that's actually probably changed since then. Waivers have likely ran, and Will Levis has likely been picked up in a lot of leagues, but he's a high priority pickup. He has one of the easiest upcoming schedules over the next 5 weeks for the quarterback position. So I think Will Levis should be picked up and ready to play in pretty much every league moving forward, at least as a stash on your bench to see what kind of upside he can bring your teams. But now that we've talked about the quarterback position, let's move over to the running back position. And again, we're going to be starting with our running back performer of the week, and that's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs for the Detroit Lions. And Gibbs here, he did finish as the running back one with 29.9 fantasy points. And when we look over at the other guys who finished here in the top 12, obviously Jahmyr Gibbs, 152 rushing yards, also added 37 receiving yards there in that game with a touchdown to go with that. But we also had Christian McCaffrey, Gus Edwards, Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne, and Austin Eckler round out your top 6, followed by Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Josh Jacobs, and Derrick Henry, who rounded out the bottom 12. And so that is going to be all of your running back ones this week. I do like what we are starting to see out of Javonte Williams. You see him there as running back 9 on the week. He's slowly starting to get ramped up. They're giving him more and more work. The matchups seem like they're getting a little bit easier for Javonte Williams. He's coming back off of that terrible knee injury that he had a year ago, but it looks like the game is starting to come back for Javonte Williams, and he's potentially a guy that I think you could be buying low in your fantasy football leagues. But overall, man, we did see the breakout of Jahmyr Gibbs. He's on bye this week. It'll be interesting to see what happens once David Montgomery is back in the lineup, but it does look like good things that we expected out of Jahmyr Gibbs are starting to happen. I just want to see what this role looks like once Montgomery is back in the lineup. But overall, that is your top 12 running backs of the week for fantasy football. And now that we've talked about the quarterbacks and the running backs, let's move over to the wide receiver position, starting with our wide receiver performance of the week, CeeDee Lamb for the Dallas Cowboys. And obviously, he finished as the wide receiver one here with 41 points. And as we look at the rest of the scoring here at the wide receiver position, we obviously had CeeDee Lamb 158 yards on 14 targets and 2 touchdowns here in this game, obviously being our highest scorer of the week. But we also had DeAndre Hopkins. He showed up with Will Levis in the lineup. He scored 3 touchdowns here on 4 catches, finishing with 34.8 fantasy points. AJ Brown, he had probably the catch of the week here in this one. Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, that's your top 6, followed by Jahan Dotson, who finally showed up, Rashid Shaheed, Gabe Davis, Devontae Smith, Jamison Crowder, kind of shocking there in that top 12, and then Tyler Lockett. And I say Crowder is shocking in that top 12 because you can see that roster percentage that they have for him right here. It is at 0.0%. So Jamison Crowder likely was not started in any of your leagues, but he did give you a top 12 finish this week. But overall, we're starting to see some good things come from some of these guys that we've been waiting for. Jamar Chase, he's getting it back together. Jalen Waddle, good week from him. Devontae Smith, good week from him. These are guys that we drafted to help us win our fantasy football leagues this year, and it looks like they're starting to get it together. So I'm excited to see this continue. But overall, a very good week from the wide receiver position. Lots of touchdowns right there at the top. You see the 2, the 3, the 2 from CeeDee Lamb, DeAndre Hopkins, and AJ Brown. But it was a great week for your wide receivers, and hopefully you had some of these guys on your fantasy football teams. And so last but not least, let's talk about that tight end position. And again, we're going to be starting with our tight end performance of the week, and that is going to be Trey McBride from the Arizona Cardinals here. And you see Trey McBride in this matchup, guys. He had 25.5 points, finished as your tight end 1, and that was off of 95 yards. It was 14 targets, 10 catches in this one. He also scored a touchdown. and he's only being rostered in 16.5% of leagues. So you see Trey McBride, he was our waiver wire addition of the week, our #1 target. I think Trey McBride should be picked up. I think he can give you these top 12 numbers the rest of the year. So he's probably going to be a tight end 1 for the remainder of the season, in my opinion. I don't know if he's going to be the tight end 1, but he should give you top 12 numbers. So I think Trey McBride is definitely worth a pickup if he's still available in your leagues. And you see the remainder of these guys here as your tight end 1s this week: George Kittle, Taysom Hill, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Cole Kmet. Then you have David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid, Evan Engram, Logan Thomas, Jake Ferguson, and Donald Parham Jr. And what I like out of these guys here is we're seeing some of the usual suspects. Obviously, George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, those guys have been here each and every week. Even Evan Engram has been a top 12 guy most weeks. But I do like that we saw the breakout of Dalton Kincaid, and I do think it is a breakout. It's probably not as big of a breakout as we wanted it to be, but you see we have 5 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. He did have those 17.5 fantasy points that we had out of Dalton Kincaid, and it seems like as long as Dawson Knox is out of this lineup, Dalton Kincaid is going to be a must start every single week in this offense where they do pass the football a lot. So I'm excited to see what Dalton Kincaid can do moving forward. And that is your top 12 tight ends of the week here in week 8. But now that we've talked about the top 12 in each position, and these guys were likely the guys who won you your week, let's talk about the guys who possibly could have lost you your week, coming in with our top 5 bad performances of the week. And that's going to be a very star-studded group. It's Patrick Mahomes, Cooper Kupp, Lamar Jackson, Devontae Adams, and Tony Pollard. And the crazy thing about this group is if you started all 5 of these guys in your league, you would have combined for less than 32 fantasy points. Cooper Kupp had 6.1 fantasy points this week. Devontae Adams had 2.1 fantasy points this week. Tony Pollard 6.5, Lamar Jackson 12, and that was the best of the bunch. And Patrick Mahomes had 7.6 fantasy points. So these guys definitely did sink your fantasy football teams this week. Unfortunately, we've had some quarterback changes. Aiden O'Connell is now going to be the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, so we'll see what happens with Devontae Adams moving forward. He obviously didn't get traded, but I don't expect this to obviously be the norm for your guys like Patrick Mahomes and Cooper Kupp and these guys, but these were your week 8 bad performances, and man, these sucked, man. It was a dud fest from these 5 guys. So with all of that being said, I don't have anything else for you guys today. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and hit that like button for us. It is the best free way to show our channel some support, and it gives us some help in the algorithm so we can reach more accounts and help more people. If you also want to see more videos like this daily, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell, that way you never miss a video when it does come out. And last but not least, if you want to talk fantasy football all day long, 24/7, 365, get waiver advice, trade advice, or anything fantasy football related, go ahead and join my free Discord. And like I said, it is free to join, so there's no risk in doing that. Now with all of that out of the way, I will see you guys on our next video, but until then, peace out.